So, hello again. It's middle of the day, Saturday now, and I'm still following up and following through and talking about asking us and asking you to please give a shit. Reject this willful ignorance and this incompetent society. Asking you to just give a shit. Because, like I say all the time, I'm an old woman and my eyes have seen a lot. And I still ask for my non sufficient funds check to be cashed and paid to me. It's hard for me to breathe right now. So much you want me to breathe on and breathe about. So, my soul has challenges trying to find that positive vibe so that when I come to you and we open up these exchanges, at least I can say I'm on the positive side. So a lot of things that I'm talking about now because we can't see one another and we don't have an exchange, there just been some troubling thoughts in my brain because I know I thought when I was coming up as a child and I had my arithmetic, the question was how much is 2 plus 2? And for years, I've always said it was 4. But we got some new math out here now that's telling me I'm supposed to believe all the new stuff and forget all the stuff that I was born and reared and raised on. So, at 75, I have an old spirit, first generation out of slavery. As a matter of fact, my grandmother was the housekeeper, and she and I lived on the premises of the white family that she worked for. And I used to play with her, their little white boy, every day. And then when I moved to Texas to live with my mother worked for white women, cleaning, washing, ironing their clothes and their homes on Saturdays, so that she could be cute on Sunday morning, accompanying her husband to the church service for which he was the minister. And I remember the roles that we had to play as his children. And then I remember getting sick and tired of those roles and those rules and those punishments until I decided to think a new thought. And the new thought presented to me all the rest of the living my life has taken. I could have easily said the chaos, but I'm trying to stay positive today. So it's not the chaos, it's just the living. It's just the living. These 86,400 seconds in a day times 76 years, that's a lot of seconds. And that's a lot of going through and seeing and realizing a lot of stuff. And so now at 75, I say over and over and over again that we must reject willful ignorance. And we have to reject this thing called white privilege and white power. because anything, any power that tries to exclude the rest of us will not be a healthy power to be a part of. So I'm just looking. I'm just I'm just I've mm, since the election in November I've really been looking, and I've really been listening, and I've come to understand that we really don't have a plan. It's all a facade. It's all a bunch of stuff. And guess what, guys? It's not even on paper. This is just something they have been uh, in a position of power to do and power to say. As I said earlier, as I watched television yesterday, I was amazed at the number of white men that were talking about the things they were trying to stop in women's rights. I'm amazed that you really think you have governorship of my body. You can only govern me with my consent. And to date, you don't have it. And to date, the white woman has a lot to think about. You have been free since 1921 to vote better laws into actions to protect women. Since 1921, you've been able to do better. You've been able to vote better. Oh, you've been scared to disappoint your man, so you voted his way. And so now you're entrenched in his thought. I'm just asking you to realize, women, white women in particular, your anatomies are different. And to that end, you must think a new thought. You have to. It's the only thing that's going to be fair. You've had 44 years to create better legislation just by voting in better ways. So now, the votes that you have been cast and the votes that we're casting now, uh, they need to institute changes. I have to drink water on this. We have to institute changes that are going to improve the miracle, the miracle that will improve the material conditions of my fellow citizens, sisters' lives. So, white women, you're gonna have to come back. You have to start standing with us because you know what your co partners, your white counterparts, are doing and saying. It's not healthy for me. And yes, you have slept with these people and you've given them the to present an idea, but it wasn't theirs. This thing of humanity has always been a feminine trait. So now, as you have slept with your men, you still refused to stand and celebrate yourself being in partnership with this male relationship. I know that's a lot, but young people, as we engage in these relationships, Let's just make sure that we've gotten in them and we've talked for more than 90 days. And during these 90 days, we did not have sex. We just listened to what things are going to come out of your mouth that are going to vibe with how I'm feeling about my life and whether you can contribute anything positive to my life. The negative, I have so much of. And so I have to do more than speak more than 90 days. And I know you hate it, ladies. You hate for me to say if you're 19, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, get that anatomy called your vagina off the table and just speak from your heart. Speak from your mind. Speak from the truth you know reality to be. And then I'm asking you to stand up. And if you can stand up strong, stand up strong. And ask that your man take care of the rest of us. And it's a struggle, and I understand. But these non-sufficient fund checks, I have too many of them. I have a collection of them from the 40s and the 50s and the 60s and the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, and now I'm in a brand new millennium, and I'm still getting non-sufficient funds checks. And you guys have been there for the crime bill. You've been there for the welfare bills, as I talked about on yesterday. You only want to give me $1, but you're going to give Bob Dole and his pineapples 12, or any other person that's in high stakes agriculture, high stakes beef growing. You know, you're using a lot of herbicides and pesticides and growing hormones that just has us looking all out of place right now. And you know, we can look at one another, we can see, and this willful ignorance, it has to come to a halt. We can no longer abide by it. I say all the time, racism has no silver lining. You can't work your way out of it, out of racism. And I still have too many children who are hugless and homeless and helpless and hopeless. I have too many children dealing with food insecurity and home insecurity and healthcare insecurity. I have too many children whom I have not shared the truth with. And that's all I have to give them. Just tell them the truth. Trust me, they can see. They're watching us. They can see. And they are tired of our adult agenda. These young ones coming up behind me, not behind me, those that are in their 30s, late 20s, 30s, early 40s, their priorities are totally different than mine. Do you realize that our children collectively, our children, our white children, and our black children, and our brown children, and our children of color, and our poor children are not having a great time right now? And it's my responsibility as the adult to create a better environment for them. I say all the time, what do we owe our children? We owe our children the truth. And what must we protect them from? We must protect our children from early childhood mental illnesses, which means we women must do a better job of rearing our children. And I know these times they're strange right now, but if we stepped out there, and to the extent they are not real fools, but if we stepped out there, I want to drink water on that, and we find ourselves just giving birth to a child or getting ready to give birth to a child, I'm going to invite you to stay with that man to make it work. Our children need to see how relationships work. You know, they need to see the truth that goes into it. They need to see the disagreements that go into it. They need to see how we resolve these disagreements. They need to watch us. They need to hear us. And we need to take all those negative words off the table. And we need to put unconditional, positive self-regard on the table so that when our children hear things that sound a little different or a little off-putting, they have watched us enough to see how we worked our way through it and came back to being a loving, healthy family again. It's our responsibility now to be grown-ups in these relationships. There is no silver lining in racism, and one can never work their way out of racism. So racism is going to have to take a look at itself and deal with itself and come to understand that mm, mm, your strength, your input, your impediment to me stops as soon as you come out of your shoulder and out of your arms and out of your voice to speak to me. Once you come out of you to me, there's a difference. And we're going to have to learn how to get together. So I'm asking the white woman to join us. And you know, the poor white woman, you understand. I don't know why you're just trying to stand with all the ludicrousness. Huh. You understand, you trailer park women with children that are white understand poverty. You understand eating grass and dirt just like I do being a black woman. And I'm the mule of this shit. Shit. The one that gave you the courage to decide in 19, I don't like this man no more. I'm going to leave him. And you chose to be a single white woman with children. But then you found out the gig was hard. So you've been modifying your behavior ever since the 60s and 70s, and you've been subtly figuring out how to stay with this thing you call a white man. But he's a zigaboo. He's hurtful. He's inhumane. And you've got to start telling him these things. You're divorcing him at millions and billions of dollars, but you're not saying enough to force them to share real concern, real high value on the rest of us. So Black people, realities for Black people and brown people and poor people and people of color and people across the board who are vulnerable. Your realities, these realities have to change because we are tired of all of these non sufficient funds checks. I need some of these things to get checked and cashed so I can move on with the betterment of my familiar condition. And it's not hard. I just asking us to organize, to vote strategically, but however when we're doing this, those folk that we do put in office have to be united in the idea that they are there to institute and improve changes in the material conditions of all people. And I'm asking this white woman to come join with the rest of us women for the betterment of civilization. So, have an awesome Saturday. Be peaceful, practice human kindness, practice just being humane, and demonstrating unconditional positive self regard. Yours in liberty,